3, 2, 1.
Okay.
CTS podcast EP 49.
49, one away from 50 by our count. It's probably way off, to be completely honest.
That's so good.
I don't know.
I love that.
Stuff's just weird. Numbers are weird on this podcast.
Well,
okay.
you're
we
the one
took-
that handles the numbers.
We
not me.
took a week off, just for fun, I guess. I don't know. What happened in the world of politics while we were gone?
Mayhem. Oh my gosh, I'm crying. Sorry. My freaking allergies, dude. Okay. Wait, what did I say earlier that we were just barely talking about that I thought was so interesting? We were going to talk about the Australia lockdown.
The lockdowns in
Have you heard about
Australia.
that?
Not in a ton of detail.
So they're still like fully locked down.
Really?
Yeah.
Did they ever come
It's
out?
been the longest lockdown of any state in the world. Longer than China. Longer than everywhere.
How? That's crazy. It seems like, because what does that entail? Because like there were different levels of lockdown here, right? But
yeah. No, like basically $1,000 tickets, jail sentences if you leave your house. Like
if you leave your house,
I don't know if it's actually, it may be leaving your house, but I know people have been arrested for like going out and doing things they shouldn't be. You know, there's still a curfew, all that stuff.
that's pretty crazy. It seems weird because we haven't been, well, we were never there, right? Like people weren't getting arrested for
Well, yeah, in Utah, in Utah, we never even had a lockdown.
not. There was like right at the start, we did that thing for like a couple weeks where stuff was shut down.
Well, it was shut down, but like you could still leave your house. You could go
Yeah,
running.
we
You could hang
didn't-
out with friends.
We didn't have a don't leave your house lockdown. Yeah, that's crazy. It's weird that they're like the only place that's doing it.
Yeah, it's really weird. And there's been these big protests met by an insane police response in Australia.
Because it's because it's not even like if a lot of countries were doing it and it was like just the US that wasn't in lockdown, I'd
Yeah.
be like, maybe they're right, whatever.
Yeah.
But at this point, it's just Australia that's still under lockdown.
Yeah, they're like unforgiving about it too. Like they're
And
not,
they should
they're
be-
not relenting about it.
They should be one that's like pretty good about, because they're kind of an island, right? Like they're not like, it's pretty easy to control like who gets on and off, right?
Yeah.
Because the US is still like pretty locked down to international travelers.
Yeah, it's just barely starting to open up.
Yeah. So Australia, if they were like super harsh, like, oh, you can't travel, then what? COVID's not just going to show up in
Yeah.
Australia.
Yeah.
Because New Zealand was similar. Like, they had a super harsh lockdown.
Uh-huh. But theirs was like, they did it for, I think 2-week periods. It was pretty crazy. when
Yeah.
it was done.
But Australia, yeah, I keep hearing, I don't, like, haven't heard super specific stuff, but I keep hearing, like, Australia back in lockdown. Like, they can't do anything. And it's crazy. Because we've been not back to normal, but compared to that, like, functionally back to normal. Like, you're not really stopped from doing much.
Yeah, especially if you're vaccinated.
Yeah,
you can pretty
yeah.
much do anything you want.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. You have anything else on the Australia topic? That just reminded
No.
me. The vaccination mandates for students in California. Did you hear about that?
For like public school
Yeah.
students. Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I don't know. I could see it being fine for like, I don't know, maybe high school, college. I don't really see a real need when you're younger than high school, but I don't know.
Well,
I'm not a
especially,
scientist, so
didn't they just barely approve Pfizer for like
12 and
use.
older. 12 and older. Yeah.
Well, it's been 12 and older for a while, but didn't they just approve it for like 5 to 12?
I think it's maybe. I don't know. Maybe you're right. 5 to 12. Maybe you are right. Yeah. And maybe it's
'Cause
the
I know
0 to
people
5
that are.
they're working on right now.
Yeah, but it's like that just barely got approved. So to then, like, yeah, I don't know.
Well, did you hear that the FDA board said that there's no need for COVID booster shots for Pfizer?
Yeah.
Did you hear about that?
How are they getting mixed messaging there?
What do you mean?
'Cause aren't there people saying you do need booster shots? Like
Yeah,
the World Health
the Biden
Organization and the Biden
administration is.
administration.
Yeah, yeah. So the CDC director overruled the decision by the FDA board and said that boosters can go out to medical workers, and that was the only one because they were already available to
Like
immunocompromised.
immunocompromised and
But she said they could go out to medical workers. But the FDA board said no, you don't need boosters.
what is that? And that might just be me not being super clear on how the FDA functions, but it seems really odd that this whole time we were fighting to get FDA approval for the vaccines, like that was the gold standard, and now we're overruling the FDA.
Yeah, one person is the CDC director.
It's just the CDC director?
Oh yeah, she single-handedly overruled their decision, which is like a panel of FDA directors.
Yeah, does that it's just weird. I
Yeah.
don't get how, cuz it's not like, cuz there was some of that stuff at the start of the pandemic where you were getting some mixed messaging cuz everything was new, they were still figuring stuff out. But at this point, like, they've got a bunch of information about whether people should get booster shots or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so why are they not in concurrence on that front?
I think the FDA just thinks you don't need them. I mean, that's the conclusion they came to, is that you don't need them.
Has the CDC like given an explanation why they overruled it?
I mean, they partially overruled it, right? They said booster shots could go to medical workers, who are overly exposed. But I think they probably use the same science. It's probably just sort of vague or in the middle. Is like, yeah, it probably works. Boosters probably help, but doesn't. But if there's plenty of, if you have plenty of,
We're not gonna say you have to get them.
Yeah. I mean, if you, not even that, like, the FDA believes that Americans shouldn't get, or doesn't recommend them, won't allow them to go out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the FDA said no, regular Americans don't need boosters, so we're not going to approve them.
Man, that's crazy. I can't, cause what do you? That just seems like a PR nightmare for the Biden administration to have this like body that we're supposed to trust on everything else. Like in the FDA, like, oh, like if the FDA's approved it, like it's safe. Saying don't get this, and the CDC is saying, hey, if you're a medical worker, you should get this.
Yeah.
That seems like one thing you
it's
should
weird.
probably be like pretty. We're like come out with a unified voice about.
Yeah. I saw a video. I saw this clip the other day of Rand Paul, who's not my favorite senator, but he was arguing with, I believe it was an HHS secretary, who has been very public with his comments about the unvaccinated people, and he was like, essentially called them flat earthers, people that refuse to get vaccinated, and even including people who have gotten COVID and then, they have the antibodies and just don't want to get the extra shot, which is something that Rand Paul has. He got COVID. He tested positive for the antibodies, so the antibodies are present, and he feels that he doesn't need the vaccine because of that. And there's plenty of science to back up antibody like ability to fight off infection.
Yeah.
Like it's just as strong as a vaccine, if not stronger, and there's plenty of science to back that up. But the HHS secretary was saying, he called all the people that refused to get vaccinated flat earthers. And I was like, okay, that's kind of based and funny, but it's like, how do you plan to convince people to get vaccinated by calling them flat earthers?
Especially when it's not like the majority of people are getting vaccinated. Like that's not like most people are getting vaccinated, but it's not like the flat earth thing where there's like 2,000 people in the country that believe in flat earth or some small number.
Yeah.
Like it's a decently significant number of people are not getting vaccinated. So, and some of them are probably misguided, but some of them probably aren't, like have valid reasons not to get vaccinated. So to come out like that and be like basically equate them to crazy people
Yeah.
seems
yeah.
ill-advised.
Yeah, I would agree, but I also think like there's people that don't let their kids get the vaccines they need, like smallpox or measles or
Yeah.
whatever. I think I would compare those people to flat earthers pretty quickly. I wouldn't have any remorse saying those people are akin to believing the earth is flat by like saying vaccines cause autism.
Yeah, that stuff is crazy.
We're gonna get probably shadow banned just for using those
We
words,
had an
even though
episode-
we're not even agreeing with it. It's
We
just
had an
dumb.
episode a couple weeks ago that got shadow banned for, I'm positive, because we don't get that many views. We get like 20 views a week on
So
like
you think an
average.
algorithm just heard us, caught us saying
We got 5
vaccines or
views.
something?
We only got 5 views on the episode.
Yeah, so it was for sure an algorithm.
Yeah, it has to be. But
Wow.
which is crazy because we're tiny. Like we have no audience. We've got 45 subscribers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
kind of crazy, but
Weird.
yeah. What else happened in the last couple weeks?
They delayed raising the debt ceiling, or they temporarily raised the debt ceiling.
How big an issue is that? Like if they hadn't done that, because I've seen like both takes where people are like, oh, like stuff like this happens all the time, like it's not that big a deal, and people like, oh, the government would have ended if they didn't raise it.
So it is a pretty big deal. Like the government would shut down.
Mm-hmm.
The U.S. would have to begin defaulting on its loans, which is really, really bad.
And they've never done that, right?
They've never
That'd be the
done
first
that.
time.
It would be the first time they've ever defaulted on their loans, which would be really bad and would probably send the economy. I don't know if it would collapse the economy like some people think it would, but it would have very negative effects on the economy, and then obviously the government would shut down. People are like hyping it up to be the worst, like the biggest disaster of all time, but it'd be bad, but it wouldn't be that bad.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be terrible.
How it's nuts that like senators and stuff have like early knowledge on that stuff. Like I guarantee if they were gonna default, like if the government was gonna like shut down whatever, all those senators would be shorting stocks.
Oh yeah.
100%, because they have that insider knowledge and are allowed to use it. So it's just crazy to think about that they're allowed to do that.
Yeah, there's a whole like Reddit following for Nancy's and her husband's stock purchases.
Aren't you like,
they call her Nancy the whale?
'Cause aren't you pretty like if you follow it like exactly like don't you do pretty
she
well?
She always does well. That's why they call her the whale.
It's crazy. That stuff always has not made sense to me.
Like a couple of months ago, she bought like $200,000 worth of Roblox stock, and
I saw that. I was like, what simulation are we living in that Nancy Pelosi, like the Speaker of the House, is purchasing Roblox stock?
Yeah, it's pretty weird stuff. Kirsten Sinema's in a lot of heat because she was trolling.
Who's that? Hold on.
She's the senator from Arizona. She's the first bisexual senator.
Mm-hmm.
She's a liberal, but she's like very, almost like Manchin, just
like super down the center, like
so neoliberal. She's almost conservative. But no, she was saying she was trolling this media reporter, and she's like, how do you call yourself a liberal, or how do you call yourself a liberal right now and reject this bill? Where do you stand? And she's like, I'm standing in front of an elevator, and was trolling. dude, the media caught hold of that. I've never seen one of them come for their own like they came for her. The only thing that either side hates more than the other side is people from their own side that like are
That don't like
traitors.
toe the party line.
Uh-huh.
That's pretty funny. Like that's a funny line that
Yeah, she was trolling. It's
Well-
like a Mitt Romney, you know, when he
yeah.
and stuff.
when with the impeachment stuff. Well, I saw an op-ed in CNN criticizing like Manchin for like not signing the infrastructure bill or whatever, like cuz isn't he holding up the infrastructure
He
bill?
was, yeah.
Yeah. It was criticizing. Guess who wrote it?
Who?
3 Rockefellers.
Oh.
3 Rockefellers were criticizing. They were like, "Oh, like you're like holding the state back from like going into a clean energy future." That's super easy to say when you're like pulling money out of the Rockefeller Trust Fund to the tune of like millions of dollars
That's
just
crazy.
for your last name. It's shocking. I was like, it was almost like, because they have the picture, right? They have the title, the picture, and then it says like who wrote it underneath. And so I was like scrolling down, and it was like, yeah, like Amy Rockefeller, John Rockefeller, and Jim Rockefeller. And I was like,
Propaganda.
this can't be real.
It's propaganda.
Are we really like letting Rockefellers start criticizing the political system?
That's funny. That's weird.
Bizarre.
That's
But yeah,
really
same
weird.
type of thing where they like
Right.
come for one of their own because they're not towing the party line.
Yeah, yeah. In other news, Turkey has decided to increase their military spending with Russia and form closer ties. The Russian president, I think his name's Erdogan. He's having a meeting with Vladimir Putin in the coming weeks. So they'll
The
be
Turkish president.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they'll be forming closer ties and sort of a backstab to the United States, which is pretty bad. Turkey is a pretty big, positionally, like geographically, is a pretty big player in the Middle East.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, it's like even if Turkey were to side with Russia for whatever reason, they're surrounded by Saudi Arabia, Israel. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, they're kind of in the midst of U.S. allyship. But no, Turkey's a pretty big player. And forming close ties with Russia could really spice up things in the Middle East.
That seems weird after like seeing what Russia did to the Ukraine.
Yeah.
Like Turkey's in pretty close proximity to that to go, yeah, we want to work with that.
Yeah. It's really weird. But Russia can sell military equipment probably a lot cheaper than the U.S.
Yeah. That not a good track record so far for Biden. It's
Not when it comes to foreign policy.
yeah.
Not when it comes to foreign policy.
It's been pretty rough.
Really weird about it. Yeah.
Cuz Turkey has been a pretty big ally.
Yeah, they were. They've become less and less of an ally over like the past decade or so. But yeah, they have been a pretty stark U.S. ally. The United States has always had a really weird relationship with Turkey, though. It's kind of like our relationship with Saudi Arabia. It's just kind of a weird relationship.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, obviously the Biden administration has sort of reduced ties with Saudi Arabia as well. So
Yeah. It does seem weird that you'd put your eggs, if you're Turkey, that you'd put your eggs in the basket with Russia, because Russia feels like it's on the decline, I think.
yeah, I mean, Russia is a failing state almost. I would say. I don't want to say failing, but certainly a declining state, both militarily, socially. Like, their infrastructure is getting dilapidated and old. They're not able to, they're economically, they're just kind of falling apart.
Because they're still relying a lot on like Soviet like projects and stuff, like as far as like their infrastructure. It was stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of their military equipment is still Soviet issue. Like, it's just old.
And
it's
been
literally old
I mean, it's
military
been 40 years.
Yeah. So it's going to be weird to see how Russia positions themselves. I mean, it's just such a weird thing that they're forming such close ties with Russia or with China, who's the opposite. I mean, China's gonna pretty much revolutionize Eastern Asia. So
Do you think that's probably why they're doing it, is to try and kind of
but
piggyback on China?
Russia's always been such an independent nation. Like,
Yeah.
it just seems weird that for such an independent nation, you'd piggyback so hard on China.
Yeah.
But I mean, they have sort of the same values, ideals. So
That's
don't
an
know.
odd one for sure.
yeah,
See, I don't know if I have anything else I want to talk about right now.
we can wrap it up.
Okay,
We
let's wrap
can
it
wrap
up.
up
A little
the
short
podcast.
one right
Episode
here.
49. Next week is episode 50.